Hello, and welcome to House of Decline. We have a very special episode. As you can tell, it's a guest host, and it's me, your favourite actor in the whole wide world, Margot Robbie. I was Harley Quinn. I was the Joker in the secret Harley Quinn is the Joker movie. I was Tonya Harding. I was Tonya Harding as Harley Quinn. I was Harley Quinn as the Joker as Tonya Harding. I was in a variety of roles, and now I'm here to bring my acting expertise to you, House of Decline, because I was in The Wolf of Wall Street. I was very sensual. I was very sexy in The Wolf of Wall Street. You know, I do my thing. I'm Margot Robbie, famous actress, famous actor.
So lucky to have you here, Miss Robbie.
I'm very glad to be here.
Just like, you know, we got a lot of interesting questions. Some viewers
Did I mention that I was Harley Quinn?
Yeah,
I was Harley Quinn in the Harley Quinn movies.
Super hot in all those movies.
Yeah, I'm very good in all my movies. I'm Margot Robbie. I'm designed
Super
to be.
hot.
I was attractive in The Big Short. They had a picture of me in a bath, and I lectured everyone about economics. And it was good. Margot Robbie.
So, Margot,
I'm a lady. I'm a lady.
How do you
and you
feel
don't have
about-
those on your podcast.
how do you feel about the Australian COVID stuff? With
I
their
don't like
lockdowns?
it. It's
don't?
the lockdown, it's too much. Margot Robbie's got to let a freak flag fly. They're making you put your masks on your vaginas. And I don't like that. Because, you know, Margot Robbie's got to let her vagina out.
Are you really Australian, Miss Robbie? Or
I'm
is that an
Australian
accent?
through and through. Me dad fucked a kangaroo and out sprung Margot Robbie.
Oh, that's why you're so hot. Okay.
Oh, this one, yeah, it's all the kangaroo DNA. Everybody loves it. When I played Tonya Harding, you know, I was, you know, hopping mad.
Okay, is hopping mad because you were part kangaroo?
I was hopping mad because I was part kangaroo and because I was trailer trash. And that's a movie about trailer trash. And you know, and I can relate to that because all of Australia is like a big trailer trash country, you know.
And it's everything's very far away from everything else in Australia.
Yeah, and everyone's going chunder all the time and eating Vegemite.
Doing chunder?
Going chunder.
What's that?
Oh, it's when you drink too much and you go chunder.
Okay. Oh, okay. So is chunder is that something that happens in your pants, or is that
It
something that
happens
comes
all
out of
over
your
your
mouth?
body.
Oh.
You have a full body chunder. And you know, you shit yourself.
You sheet?
I sheet myself, you know.
Okay.
When you're out with your girls on a Saturday night and you're at the club and you go chunder and sheet yourself, right? Your pinties.
You're talking about getting fecked up.
Yeah, getting fecked up. But now they want you to put your masks over your vajayjays, girls. And, you know, we're not having that. You know, it's all about women's rights. That's what we're talking about on this week's show. It's women's rights. It's women's rights.
We are talking about a lot of women's issues today, which is why we have Miss Robbie.
Miss Robbie. It was actually me. It was actually me this whole time.
What?
I'm gonna say the Margot Robbie had a real Omicron accent going. It wasn't really very Australian.
What?
Very Omicronian.
That wasn't actually her?
No, it wasn't. My amazing Margot Robbie accent.
Well, let's welcome Jay
actually
back to the show for his probably third or fourth time.
Honestly, I think it's my fifth, guys.
Might be your fifth time.
My gosh.
Frequent guest, returning champion Jay.
Returning champion Jay. Listen, I fucking live on this laptop. I might as well make some guest appearances once in a while.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, hey, we pay our guests now. Alex actually is the one who handles that. I think the fee is like $1,000. So just hit up Alex for $1,000.
We pay our guests, you know.
Yeah, no, listen, I know where he lives.
Yeah, he now officially owes you 1,000 Canadian dollars.
Yeah, all of our guests, and this is retroactive too. So all of the guests that have been on the show, you can come and break my legs if you want. You know.
So y'all owe me 5 G's. That's pretty good.
That's correct.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
Yeah.
It's pretty good. You know. Don't worry. Don't worry. I'm good for it.
I've got a charming Alex anecdote so when we were, briefly cohabitating many years ago. I remember Alex always slept on the worst futon, like hand-me-down futons.
Yeah,
and his mom was finally like, I'm going to buy you a really nice bed. And Alex, and he was like, she's like, okay, you pay for it. And I was like, Alex, we need to have a queen. We're two fully grown men sleeping in the same bed. We need to get a queen. And Alex is like, we're going to get the queen. So I come home, and it is not a queen.
It's a full.
It was a full. And I was like, Alex, why? And he's like, I only had X amount of money on my credit card, and it was $15 more. And I was like, you could have put it on my credit card. I have 10 grand available on my credit card.
No, you don't understand. This is autism at work. This is how I buy beds.
That's his disability, Jay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I get it. I was just one of those, when you're like, finally, we've been together sleeping in shitty beds for so long. Finally, we will have a restful sleep as a couple.
No, too small bed.
Too small.
I kind of did that same thing, except instead of the king, we got the queen, and my wife wanted the king.
You get a California king.
Well,
California.
the California king is just longer.
It's just longer?
It's not wider. And so you then, you may then
Why?
pose
Is it
the
because
question,
California has Shaquille O'Neal in it? Is that why?
can you not just lay sideways upon the California king? Turning its width into its height as a rectangle rotated upon itself is still a rectangle, which is the most important aspect of the bed shape. I generally only buy...
It would be a good bed for the seven dwarves to sleep in all at once.
The seven orbs?
The seven dwarves.
Dwarves, okay.
Yeah, I do actually use one of those because you know how people toss and turn in their sleep? My boyfriend has a very strange thing where he does that, but like on an axis. So he turns like the hands of a clock. So eventually he will just be horizontal on the bed. And I was like, I don't have enough bed for this insane behavior.
And that's why you guys broke up.
No, this one's still around.
Oh,
yeah.
Well.
You should hook some copper wire up to him and generate electricity very slowly.
So he's spinning. He's like,
he spins like the hands of a clock. It's charming, but it's also frustrating sometimes.
Well, you should sleep in separate beds like an angry Long Island couple.
I have been trying to get that dream for years, and I had it with the baby for about 2 months.
Yeah.
The best goddamn 2 months of my life. I had my own room. I had my own computer in my own room. I could do what I wanted. And now I'm back in jail.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that would be my ideal living scenario. It would be like having apartments next to each other in the same building. Yeah, I keep
saying duplex. Let's buy a duplex.
Yeah, yeah.
Be like Helena Bonham Carter and Tim Burton and live in separate wings of a weird mansion.
Yeah. Still, I think.
Or probably like Trump
did they not break up?
Trump and Melania.
Did they break up?
Yeah.
That's sad. I thought those kids were going to make it.
those weird middle-aged
kids.
people. If they can't make it, who can?
Yeah. Tim Burton, I'm sure.
What do you think the middle-aged Tim Burton fans are up to these days? You know, there's got to be some who are like 40.
They're watching Wes Anderson movies now.
I don't know. I guess Tim Burton hasn't really made a hit in a while.
No.
Like, he's been making kids' movies mostly. Or like Big Eyes, which I didn't see.
Didn't he make the Dumbo movie? Or
did he make the Dumbo movie?
I think he was Dumbo.
He's making kids' movies. He just wants to make bank. I mean, he's always been sort of like coy and sentimental and sort of prefab for that Disneyfication. So I don't think this is like too far off from where he started. So
apparently he's going to make a Netflix series called Wednesday about Wednesday Addams.
Oh no. Is it going to be like, is he trying to do the who's the terrible gay man?
Who's the terrible
Barack
gay man?
Hussein Obama.
Ryan Murphy was who I was saying. I was thinking of, but it was like, is he trying to Ryan Murphy where he's just going to be like, yes, it's an entire series about Wednesday, but she's gay. I'm going to watch Cynthia Nixon is going to eat oysters in front of her.
Oh, no. It's going to be an adult Wednesday Addams?
Ew, gross. That's a gross sentence.
Yeah, they did that in the Ratched series. It was really uncomfortable.
They had a oyster cunnilingus scene.
Yeah, well, like Cynthia Nixon is trying to court the Nurse Ratched character, so she takes her out for oysters, and she goes, feel them wriggle. And it's this whole thing where she's like, first you separate it, and then you feel it wriggling down your throat. And I was just like, and it's like, you know, it was uncomfortable.
Ew, pussies! I don't like them.
Yeah, that was it.
No one does. It's okay.
Who doesn't like a big vagina?
No one on the Supreme Court.
Speaking of vaginas,
no one on the Supreme Court. What a great segue. What
an
really
amazing segue. Women. Trigger warning for women. You won't like this episode.
Why? Yes, they will.
It's a bunch of guy talk on ladies.
They can. That's fine.
No, you'll love it. You'll love it. You'll get to hear what we think. If you want to know what we think.
Yeah, there's not enough discourse by men on women's reproductive rights.
I think it's going to boil down to us being like, gosh, I don't know. I don't know.
I don't know what to do. I feel so paralyzed. This political system. Help me. Superman. Help Barack Hussein Obama. Use your gay magic to change all this. What happened? That was the promise.
Well, people were.
Yeah, I guess Obama was the first gay hotep.
People were being mad at Obama because he was like, I'm gonna cement abortion into law, and then he didn't do it.
He didn't do it. He didn't do a lot of stuff.
Yeah, he really didn't do a lot of stuff at all.
Legend, Obama is the Gen X president because he is the slacker king. You know?
Exactly.
Yeah, he's the least relevant and the most noticeable.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. He's like if Reality Bites were a president.
I wish he dressed more like a 90s Gen Xer. I would think that's a lot cooler.
Do you guys remember when he wore a brown suit once and everyone got mad at him? I feel like that was him trying to be a 90s Gen Xer and like the world exploded.
They couldn't handle it.
Yeah. Well, everyone's racist, so that's why.
Brett Kavanaugh and Amy Coney Barrett are both Gen Xers. They're Gen X conservatives. God.
What a gruesome twosome.
Yeah, I would not pay for that OnlyFans.
Do you think they're friends in the cafeteria like Scalia and RBG, or do you think they can't stand each other?
Kavanaugh and Amy Coney Barrett?
Yeah.
Well, they're not on opposite sides, so.
Yeah, it would be like if Kavanaugh and Sotomayor did like fondue parties.
Yeah.
Yeah, but do you think like Kavanaugh keeps pinching Coney Barrett's ass and she can't say anything?
I hope that's not happening. I mean, it might be.
Well, yeah.
If what's his alter ego when he did he say he had an alter ego when he got drunk?
Carlos Kavanaugh?
Yeah, you talking my name when I get drunk I turn into Carlos.
I mean, I could kind of relate to that. Alex invented it's not when I get drunk, but when I get like usually maybe it's more than
very
one
crossfaded.
Yeah, when I get crossfaded, maybe something else is involved, maybe than just ethanol. Alex has invented the character of Jim.
Yeah.
And Jim is always wrong, but incredibly confident.
Yeah, specifically with directions to cab drivers.
Yes, Jim will get in the front seat of a cab and tell the cab driver to go exactly the wrong way.
Drive into the lake. Drive into the lake. No, it's here.
Straight to the moon, Alice.
Yeah, I think I don't have a drunk alter ego. I just am a very sad version of myself.
Oh.
People have drunk alter egos, though.
Yeah, it could happen. I mean,
maybe that's who you should blame it on. Maybe that's who Kavanaugh. Maybe that's the defense. I mean, it worked anyway. He's on the court.
Man, that sucks. I don't like thinking about how he's on the court. I like thinking about happy things, like Bob Dole died.
Yeah.
well, we know his dick is still going to be hard in hell, and that's all that really matters.
Boom! He was the Viagra guy. That was his thing. He made frequent comments. He would be. It's too bad that Bob Dole was never on Come Town shilling for Blue Chew. That was like the ultimate. Maybe we'll have some sort of equivalent. Maybe Madison Cawthorn will become a Blue Chew guy. Because,
I just hope Nick Mullen runs for president.
Yeah. He got 2 votes in the New York mayoral election. 2 write-in votes.
I'm
Less
curious
than Baba
about the
Booey.
marketing like success of that. Like, I want to see the numbers on the Bob Dole Viagra campaign, because on one level, you kind of like, my own instinct is to be like, yeah, you want to put somebody there who's like, yeah, he fucks. I want to fuck like him. But then there's the other side where it's like, yeah, he's like a rickety blind old man. I'm a rickety blind old man and my dick doesn't work. You know, I don't know which is the more compelling advertising.
I feel like in today's world, we would have a bunch of people identifying tearfully with the idea of, he made it okay for me as a man to accept my erectile dysfunction. And for that, he is a hero. His arm didn't work, but his dick sure did, God damn it. You know, and crying as...
Who needs a second leg when you have a third leg?
Yeah, there you go. There you go. That's what we should be. That's what we should be doing instead of if people get their legs chopped off, we should just be giving them bigger penises.
Well, I imagine that Biden will probably go to the funeral. Might even do a little eulogy at the Bob Dole funeral. You think that'll happen? You think Biden will try to be bipartisan about it?
Yeah, absolutely. What's Bob Dole? Along with McCain, he was viewed as sort of the last, sane Republican. Not that they were sane Republicans, but just by sort of that mainstream standard of, reaching across the aisle, West Wing Sorkin guy.
Well, it's kind of like how like Matt Christman will describe Biden as kind of like the last of that kind of generation of Democrat, where it's like it's the party guy. He was the last like party guy who was just like, we're a company town. You come up in the biz, you come up through the party infrastructure rather than through like the Ivies and the think tanks and all of those kinds of things where you get, your Obamas, your gay Hotep Obamas and all that kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. So it's like, yeah, no, those guys were all like, sitting in the sauna, slapping each other's ass, just cutting taxes. So I'm sure he'll go.
Yeah, I guess George W. Bush came from oil. He didn't come from any sort of party infrastructure.
Well, I mean, his dad was, his dad was the old guard. Like the neocons were not HW's people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he is the last of a very old guard, like just a Republican that straight up doesn't really exist anymore. What are they all now? What do they exist? I guess they've all...
You got your Marjorie Taylor Greens, and then you got your... who's the fat Ohioan? You got your J.D. Vance.
J.D. Vance. He's not even winning anything.
You got your Marjorie Taylor Greene and your J.D. Vance, and then you have
Ron
your Madison
DeSantis and Madison Cawthorn.
You got your Nazis, your fat boys, and your psycho bitches.
Yeah.
It's just MAGA without the tent anymore, right? Like that's really the base. The base is no longer, fiscally minded, whatever, because they don't need any sense of majority to actually have any kind of political power. So now, like, they're running on the crazies. It's the exact opposite as the Democrats, right? Because the Democrats are the Republicans in the 90s, and the Republicans are bad.
Yeah. The Republicans are the Republicans as they've always been.
Yeah, the only thing that made the Republicans like hold back a little bit was that they were sort of being held captive by this libertarian ideology. Mm-hmm. And that was helpful because every time the Republicans got too authoritarian, the libertarians would be like, "Whoa, we can't do that. That's the government doing stuff." And now the Republicans are like, let's pay the industries we like to stay afloat for no reason.
I think,
Let's subsidize goose step classes.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Well, also discarding sort of even that Austrian school of economics in favor of a more, I don't want to say fascist approach, but you know how like Nazi economics, they had no economic philosophy. It was just attempting to consolidate power whenever it seemed most appropriate.
That's not correct.
Is that not correct?
We have live.
No, there is a fascist theory of economics. I believe they refer to it as corporatism, which actually is very similar to kind of what we're talking about in terms of modern American conservative politics.
That's Mussolini.
Yeah, but I mean, you were finding the same thing in Germany, which is basically you're allowing the state is basically crowning industries that are going to, so there is a quote unquote market of state sanctioned economic activities but they're also, so it's like, you know, let's say your true anon listeners might say that, you know, Twitter is basically a corporatist sort of outshoot of the CIA and the FBI, of the intelligence services, right? Where it's like, yes, this is technically it is a privately run company, but it's, you know, largely subsidized and allowed to exist, you know, despite all apparent concepts of antitrust in the United States. And the reason it is because it's basically doing the job that government agencies used to do.
And what job is that?
Surveillance and propaganda.
But that doesn't adhere to like a classic, like a Hayekian model of economics.
No, it doesn't.
It's something different. It's not like, what I mean to say that it's not ethically consistent with itself, because it's this weird mishmash of like the worst aspects of communist economic theory and capitalist economic theory.
Yeah, it's evil Keynesianism.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're just doing it with the morally wrong companies like oil, like Exxon oil, like, you know, we've been doing it with Exxon for a while.
Yeah.
And like all the fucking shit with the drilling. Every president is always doing some kind of new drilling contract with Exxon. Like,
yeah, or even look at, you know, the Canadian situation, right? Where the whole like the pipeline across the country, like all of the oil companies actually moved out of it because they realized that by the time it would be done, it wouldn't be profitable anymore. And the Canadian government was like, no, we'll pay you $100 billion to keep building this, even though it will not fix our economy.
Yeah, we do that with farms. I think we pay farmers not to farm just to keep them going. There's a lot of farm socialism.
Is it maybe just like the sunk costs fallacy, just practiced writ large? You know, that idea that, oh, we've invested so much into this, if we pull out now, then we're never gonna get anything. You know, there's this, especially, you know, because the wheels of government turn so slowly, the idea that we can accomplish anything at all and then it's dashed away just because it turns out it was an incredibly bad idea and we should never have done it. No, we have to stick with the bad idea. We committed to it. We passed all this legislation. So many people did so much work to implement the goddamn bad idea. We can't let it go.
Well, it's bullshit scaffolding, right? Because it's like, well, yeah, we need to build the pipeline to keep Western Canada afloat, even though it's still going to crash in 10 years because it's a single resource economy. But we don't want to deal with it now, so we're going to pass the buck down the road. It's the same thing with farm subsidies. You know, it's that if food cost what food should cost, we would be like, this would be an entire, like, the level of poverty would be insane. That's why all the food has to be produced by people getting paid slave wages, and then the ones who aren't need to be subsidized, because you know what? Once we don't have that soybean oil, like you're gonna have a hard time. Right? That's torches and pitchforks shit. But it's not dealing with the supply chain. It's not dealing with the land distribution. But it's making it, you know, Barron Trump's problem instead of Biden's problem when he becomes president.
Our tall Nazi president.
Our tallest boy.
Our tallest Nazi.
He's going to be 8 foot 5.
Teutonic legend.
Yeah. I think the American president should be the tallest man. Why not?
Okay.
I mean,
why not?
Pretty tall.
Yeah, but are they the tallest though?
No.
Who's the tallest man in America right now? He should be president right now.
Well,
it just makes sense.
We know the tallest teenager in the world was just announced by Guinness Records, and they live in Quebec. So, vive la Québécois.
Whoa, it's about time we had a Québécois president again. I guess Justin Trudeau he's not really Québécois, though.
How's he doing with his new, smaller, less powerful government?
It's not doing smaller and less powerful. It's the same.
Oh, it's exactly the same.
It is the most useless election in living memory in Canada, where they were still in a minority. The seat distribution is basically exactly the same. The parties they have to go in basically coalition with to pass legislation are exactly the same. So it was a whole lot of nothing.
These Gen X slackers. It's Gen X. These Gen X politics. I'm over it.
Let's start a generational war between the Gen Xers and who comes after the Zoomers? Is it the Coomers?
I think they're called. a Generation Alpha. I think I've heard that thrown around.
Generation. Let's just make it up. They're called the Gromos. These Gromos.
Romo, like the football player.
No, like a Gromo, like if like you were talking about a Gromosexual, in that they Gromo.
Oh,
They're Gromo.
Is that like being a grower, not a shower?
Yeah, they Gromo. You know, there you go. Thank you for finishing. I'm just going with any idea here.
That's great,
because
man.
That's what they do when they make up generations. It's like your astrological symbol. Ooh, I'm a millennial, so I'm bad at parties.
One of them's going to be
knitting.
One of them's going to be Generation COVID. It has to be.
Generation COVID.
Generation COVID.
The kids born.
Yeah, Generation Generation Vid.
Generation COVID, Generation Viral.
Why did we in 1990 decide that it would be Generation X, as if there would then be 3 more?
Because it was specifically from a Douglas Copeland book, wasn't it?
I don't know who that is.
Yeah, Douglas Copeland, who was a hero of Gen X literature, Canadian fella, did microsurfs, but also I think he coined the term Generation X to describe the disaffected youngsters who had, less cultural relevance than the boomers, and
they were so disaffected probably because of like all of the same issues we're dealing with now, like abortion and guns.
Yeah.
And Ghislaine Maxwell.
She's a Gen Xer too. There you go. We're talking about Gen Xers.
Good old Ghislaine.
She, talk about a fight club of a lady, talk about an American Psycho of a lady, talk about a slacker of a lady. She wasn't a slacker. That's what we can say.
It's like that Bill Maher joke that got a show canceled where he said that the 9/11 terrorists weren't cowards. It's like, I don't have very nice things to say about Ghislaine Maxwell, but she didn't seem like a slacker.
No.
She seemed very motivated. And
she was on her shit, She was on her girl boss shit. That's, I guess, many people have made Ghislaine girl boss.
So
jokes,
what's our verdict? Do you think she's guilty?
Yes.
Well, yeah, of course.
The question is, does she go to, here's the thing. The fact that she's alive makes me think she's going to get off.
Yeah. The Clinton Mafia didn't...
I think she's just another one of his victims,
Oh, yeah.
Like a Karla Homolka thing. That's how I would spin it if I were the defense.
That's what they're doing. That is their defense, is that she was a victim of Epstein's, crimes, which is, and listen, it's a hard thing to prosecute, right? Because, as much as her lawyer's arguments are that we are not here to try Jeffrey Epstein, that is absolutely, like, if we're just talking in strict legalese, that's 100% true. But that doesn't mean she doesn't have culpability.
I'm kind of, the TrueAnon hosts are actively attending the Ghislaine Maxwell trial, and my hope is that what's his face? Who's the guy?
Brace.
I really hope he figures out a way to insert himself into the story.
Yeah, Gonzo journalism.
Basically. Well, he has already made friends with enough U.S. Marshals that they have found a special corner to let him vape in.
Oh, great! Yeah, he was saying he brings multiple vapes to evade their detecting. Good coverage by TrueAnon. A return to form.
How did they get press credentials?
They make a lot of money on Patreon. I'm sure you can just. I'm sure
I suppose. It was one of those things where I was like, I don't know, if I was the person, if it was my job to hand out press credentials, and I was like, okay, BBC, AP, Al Jazeera, TrueAnon.
They're not in the main. They're not in the main courthouse or the main room. So, I think
they have access, right? For instance,
the post-millennial has press
they know her name. Like they're privy to at least to highly confidential information.
Sometimes if you will it hard enough, you can become the greatest journalists of all time.
Yeah, or Brace has CIA connections.
Maybe he has a Brace at CIA.
Which is what some of the I think
a lot of people believe that.
The post-leftists that don't like TrueAnon say that. It's weird, though, because Glenn Greenwald loves TrueAnon.
Glenn Greenwald is a weird person.
Yeah, he is.
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of internet lefties, they're looking for idols. They're looking for people to whatever. Like Glenn Greenwald is an excellent journalist. He also has some very bad opinions. These two things can exist at the same time. And I think that it's like, no, we are not looking for, we don't, there's not supposed to be any saints in Marxism. It's the actual system that's supposed to make people behave better, not their individual souls. But yeah, anything post I've discovered, those people are the worst.
Yeah, and the thing with also Greenwald is like how annoying he is. It's not just his opinions are the worst. It's just that he's a huge bitch and very unlikable.
Yeah, he's definitely one of those guys that tops from the bottom. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. He is an ungenerous lover, I assume. I fear for his children.
That's hopefully a non sequitur.
No, he fucks his kids. Glenn Greenwald. You heard it here.
Allegedly.
This is parody.
Allegedly.
We're going to name the title Glenn Greenwald fucking his kids, the episode.
Oh, man. And then if we sent that to him, I bet we could get sued. And
we could absolutely get sued.
If we, just a little bit of, what's it called? Chutzpah? We could turn that lawsuit into a never-ending media career.
Yeah, people will love us because all we said was that Glenn Greenwald fucks his kids, and now he's suing us into oblivion, that guy.
Yeah, and then the Seeking Derangement guys will be covering your trial.
That would be good.
That would be nice. People call Rob Rousseau a pedophile all the time, and nobody seems to get into trouble.
Well, I'm wondering if what's his face Noah Berlatsky is going to try to sue anyone.
I mean, he does work for the Maps people.
Did he take his Twitter account off private yet?
I don't know.
Oh well. Anyway, we kind of glossed over the whole abortion thing, which, as three men, that maybe that's the correct way to treat.
But also, what else? We can make jokes about it.
Should we make jokes about it politically, though? Maybe a little bit. Like, what are your takes? What do you think? So I'm not saying we don't need to talk about necessarily anatomy or whatnot, but in terms of the makeup of the court, the way that America is now, and again, like I've never lived in the States, so I'm curious to see what you guys think. Is that I said this before we started recording, where it seems to me like there is enough media savvy behind the whole Republican machine to not have the headline Roe v. Wade overturned. Like, I feel like that is something that would give the other side momentum. I think if I were in the dark rooms, I would say uphold Roe v. Wade in this case, look fair and balanced, and then every case where it's like, okay, well, actually, you can't have an abortion 3 weeks after you're pregnant, they uphold all of that. So for all but I'm being optimistic, or at least overly hopeful that they have self-interest in mind.
Well, okay, so that's what I've been thinking about is the idea of neutrality kayfabe, right? So the court, and I was hearing some of Sotomayor's arguments, and her arguments was that criticism is like, if the court tries to overturn Roe v. Wade or successfully overturns Roe v. Wade, they will have lost the confidence of the public because that will be the court enacting being a political body and not adhering to precedent. And she said it would undermine the public's confidence to see the court as a political body, right? But everybody knows the Supreme Court is a political body. Like, even the justices on the Supreme Court know the court is a political body. But you have to keep that straight face where you pretend, no, we are just here to litigate the facts, and we're going to go by the precedent, and the case law is determinative, and, we have faith in our system. When in reality, that's not the case. People have done wild stuff on the Supreme Court that goes against precedent. But
because it would be hard. Like, listen, I support those decisions, and I don't think there is. I think the idea of having an apolitical court it doesn't make any sense. Like, it's not. It's a fine aspiration. I don't understand how it could possibly happen. But I think you would have a hard time even if you agree with the decision saying that the Warren court was not making large political decisions that changed.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
So, yeah.
I like it when they make political decisions I agree with. I do not like it when they do that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm almost rebutting myself, but I don't is that do you think that the modern day conservative movement can see itself as kind of doing that kind of transformational thing, or is it all Wizard of Oz shit?
Well, here's the thing is I do believe that amongst a certain class of lawyer, amongst a Brett Kavanaugh or a Neil Gorsuch or a Roberts, they do have that sense of kayfabe. They do believe that we do need to have this, we do need to preserve this image, or else, to also just bank stuff down the line. If you do something too bold, people will react to it too strongly, and then we won't be able to do everything we get to do. We'll get to do if we're just a little more patient about it. So I think, and especially amongst the judicial class, there's that more incrementalist idea of political change, just because you also have this common law system drilled into your head, which tells you to go with the precedent, and that becomes your guiding light.
I think that I think all three of us agree that there isn't such thing as an impartial Supreme Court or judiciary. No matter what configuration, would be somewhat political. Yeah, and so. The thing that maybe gives me hope that this won't go entirely tits up right away is not even the kayfabe, but the fact that at something as drastic as this, most people do not follow the news. Most people do not follow politics. Most people are not have probably not even heard of this. They are not. But that being said, if the headline is Republican-dominated Supreme Court overturns Roe versus Wade, that could which is something that the vast majority of Americans do agree with. That could give the political momentum to say stack the court in a way that I don't think it exists or has existed in the last couple of years. And I think that's the reason they don't do it. Maybe it is part of their I don't know if it's just the propaganda of law school. I think it's also they're going to lose the presidency for 20 years if they do that.
Yeah, well, maybe. I don't know.
There's progressives who disagree with that, but I tend to agree with you that the backlash would be huge. But there's a certain brand of leftist or progressive, I guess, I'm not sure, who I was listening to. Specifically, it was on the Trillbillies, and they were basically poo-pooing the idea that anyone would really care, which is, I don't know. I can't tell. I think
it's not
gut
that
feeling
anybody.
Is that it would be a big backlash.
Yes, it would be a big backlash, but this is also the Republican movement has been crescendoing to this moment for years. This has been in the works for a while, and this is their time to strike. And I think there are those people that feel that way, and there's enough of them that it could overturn any sense of political equity that would happen as a result of their restraint.
Yeah, but that's I kind of liken that to I think they're still the reason they've gotten this far, the reason why gerrymandering has gone this far, the reason why reproductive rights have already been so diminished in so many parts of the country is that it happens in all these minor decisions that have to do with this clause of this section of this whatever that allows you to again, limit the amount of abortion clinics in a certain area, the amount of time before you can get one. And that's actually much more efficacious of getting their goals, is actually then having a long con than, my comparison would be why is COVID around so much longer than SARS was? It was SARS was too deadly. It basically killed too many people and it killed itself in the process. COVID's sticking around because it's not that lethal. And I think that's kind of my analogy for the conservative movement. It's yeah, they could do it now, or they can just keep doing getting exactly what they want for the next 40 years like they have for the previous.
But what will happen to the conservative movement if they don't overturn it? I mean, won't that splinter them? Won't you have Republicans who are, they're already pretty mad at Roberts, and they'll be furious at Roberts Roberts basically has to sway one other person to I don't even know. Actually, it's very complicated because I'm not exactly sure how it works. Roberts kind of has to vote with the conservatives because then he can decide who writes the opinion. Mm-hmm. So if he goes with the liberals, then he's outvoted, and Clarence Thomas will write the opinion, and Clarence Thomas wants to overturn Roe v. Wade, and so maybe he will. I don't know. It's unclear to me what role the opinion plays. Like, is whoever writes the opinion, are they going to be the ones deciding how far it goes? Because the writing on the wall is that they're going to uphold the Mississippi law at, is it 16 weeks or 15? I think
it's 15.
15 weeks. The writing on the wall is that that's going to be upheld. It's just how far they're going to take it. Mm-hmm. So what I'm at least predicting at the minimum is that every state with a Republican control will make a abortion law limiting it to 15 weeks.
Yep.
That will probably happen.
Yeah, no, 100%. And I think that is the strategy because I also even here's the thing, anti-abortion people will get their kid an abortion if their kid gets pregnant. So it's like it can't be a kind of ruling that makes abortion, say, illegal across the board. Like, I don't think we're in a situation where you're not going to be able to get a reasonable access to health services in New York State because, frankly, the fucking oil tycoon in Texas, when his daughter gets knocked up at the frat party, needs to take her somewhere.
What gives me pause to think that this might go in a more extremist route is because, like we were saying before, with people like the death of Bob Dole, the Republican Party is no longer this coherent party. You know, it doesn't have a philosophy behind it, only to move into sort of empty spaces where power might exist. And as such, you're seeing the rise of people. You know, we mock Marjorie Taylor Greene and Boebert, but they're the rising stars of the Republican Party, and they're going to eventually, I think they're probably going to get popular enough such that the party will capitulate to them. And they're full-on anti-abortion fanatics. And
the demographic that the Democrats and Republicans are fighting over are the suburbanites who switch between Trump and Biden. And figuring out where those people stand on abortion, I think Jay hit something on the head that they don't want abortions for anyone else, but if their kid gets an abortion, they want one. That is like, they are kind of represented by Roberts, who wants to have a very moderate, he wants to just say that he wants to let the Mississippi rule stand, but every state can make their own kind of thing instead of banning it altogether. But I think there may be 5 conservatives on the court who really don't think Roe is a good decision, like fundamentally, and that might weigh so heavily on them that they do want to make big changes. I don't know how persuadable people like Gorsuch are to the political arguments about the legitimacy of the court and like the Republican movement and how long it lasts, because they're there for life now.
Yeah, but I'm convinced Kavanaugh might be. I actually think Kavanaugh's the one. Like, I think if Roberts needs if he needs to pull somebody in, I think Kavanaugh he was placed there. You know what I mean? He was not this great legal figure. He is not, we've all opined on, the strange legacy of RGB, but at least there was a there. There was a person, there was a figure, there was something you could kind of sell before she was on the court. Whereas Kavanaugh was again, a 90s Republican would never put him in there. He's there to do what he's told. I don't think he's the ideologue that Marjorie Taylor Greene is.
Well, I mean, he's like a Federalist Society guy, though.
He's a Catholic too. I don't know.
Who's pulling his strings?
But those people are bought and paid for.
Yeah, but who? I don't. But are you so certain of the identity of the person doing the buying?
No, I'm not. I'm just saying it doesn't seem outside of the realm of possibility that there is at least one, because the question is are these people so ideologically tied to something, or are these people callous opportunists? And it's that you could be right that 5 of the justices are just really true ideologues. It just seems unlikely to me that there's nobody who, can't be greased.
Yeah, but I think judges are the ones who tend to be the most susceptible to ideology. I think, more than Congress people or senators, where lobbying's part of the game. I think there is this inherent idea, even if they are corrupt, this idea that they are somewhat more neutral figures, or that they are somewhat more dispassionate, or that they have to obey somewhat of a stricter moral code. I think lawyer brain does that to you. You believe you have this moral duty to uphold, and your path is the right one, which is what I fear. But I don't know. I think you're probably your explaining of it is the most likely thing, where it's just going to be a death by 1,000 cuts, as opposed to one big explosion of ideological mess.
Yeah, it would be, if they overturn it in June, then the Republicans lose the midterms immediately. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And then Biden gets
and that's
the ability
what I even
to pack
mean with
the courts.
The self-preservation of the lawyer brain, right? Because it's not the question of, okay, these people have jobs for life. If they lose the midterm and there's actually momentum there, then stack the courts is a possibility. And listen, I don't think even if it is a possibility, I don't think it's going to happen. I think the fact that it becomes mainstreamed in any way, shape, or form is existential suicide for anybody who has a lifetime appointment, because that is the potential for them to become entirely irrelevant.
But here's the thing. You talked about the Warren Court earlier. What if this is just bizarro Warren Court, and they are a bunch of people that are making these epoch-defining decisions, even against popular...
The Warren Court had, 30 years of basically straight Democratic majorities in Congress, and the subsequent courts after. That, nobody can rely on that anymore.
It's an interesting dynamic, because I haven't studied the Supreme Court, but this is an instance where the Chief Justice may find himself out of power because he's moderate. He's the most moderate of the conservatives, and they can outvote him. And I'm very interested to see if he sides with them just so he can write the opinion. That's a
piece of pageantry that's very important.
What Roberts wants to do is just sort of hum along with the Supreme Court and loosen regulations for corporations. That's his real goal. He's like a Koch brothers kind of guy.
Yeah.
I don't think he gives a shit about the social issues. I think, is he Catholic? He might be Catholic. Is Roberts Catholic?
I don't think he's Catholic. I think Kavanaugh gives a shit. I think Kavanaugh seems like, to me, that sweaty, found Jesus again after a rough patch. Gen X, these Gen Xers, these Gen X Christians. I don't trust them. What, you listen to
the Christian thing really is the wild card.
He's Catholic. John Roberts is Catholic.
Yeah.
Is
he trad Catholic though?
He's probably very opaque. I don't know a lot about him.
Is he he seems more like a Church 2.0 kind of guy.
Yeah. Who's like a friendly Catholic? I guess Elizabeth Brunig.
No, not C.S. Lewis. He wasn't Catholic. He was Anglican. Liz Brunig.
Liz Brunig. He's not a Brunig type.
I wonder what she has to say about the abortion case, because she's anti-abortion.
Is she anti-abortion? Is she anti-abortion?
Yep. Oh, yep.
Yeah, there you go.
Oh man, she's Jimmy Smits in the last season of The West Wing.
Whoa, the West Wing called it. Well, not really. But all those post-left people are somewhat performatively anti-abortion. But I think they just do it because it's edgy and it makes people feel uncomfortable.
Yeah, I kind of alluded to this earlier, but especially in the academy, and we really invented the post concept. But, one of my old mentors always used to say in lectures where he's like, yes, I remember when all the post-feminists showed up. And then we all realized 5 years later that post-feminism just meant anti-feminism.
Yeah.
And I kind of feel like that's the thing about the post-left is they're just like, no, it's not even being edgy. It's just being post-left is being lib. It's just basically like, yeah, I thought about things being better, but what if we just did basically the same thing?
When you're not a
just meet in the middle and do nothing.
We're all going to become patriotic socialists. We're going to fucking love America. And also
You have the right to abuse your children. Yes. Because everyone has equal rights to abuse their children.
That's precisely it. Well, this is a sunny topic. It's Women in Court Week. Talking about women in court. Mm-hmm. And we got the abortion going on in the SCOTUS. We got Ghislaine Maxwell, and we got another story of Alice Sebold. Are you aware of this story?
I am.
You're aware of this story. The woman, she wrote Lucky and the Lovely Bones.
Is that the one that's like, stay up all night to get lucky? Is that the one?
Yes, to stay up. No, it's a brutal depiction of her rape. But there's a problem with this book, you see, is that the man that she was instrumental in sending to jail for the crime, turns out it was the wrong guy.
Got the wrong guy.
And
you know what? All men look the same.
Yes, all black men too. Whoa. Anthony Broadwater.
I'm gonna hit the pause button and just say sorry to all our listeners for what Alex just said.
I'm telling it from the perspective, because I'm a writer like Alice Sebold, so I'm telling it from her perspective.
He had brain damage in college from smoking weed upside down on the playground.
I did too many gravity. I hit my head on a gravity bong.
Yeah, and I got a thigh rash, so we are not at the top of our game. Anyway,
what I'm saying, my brain fell into my ass. I've never been the same.
No, that actually happened during the police questioning. They brought her in to do a lineup, and apparently the police she misidentified the man. She identified as and the police
because
were saying,
much like you, she said all black people.
She said all black people look alike. That's what she said.
Which is what you said.
That's what I said. You can quote me on that. That's going to be the title of the episode, is All Black People Look Alike.
Quote unquote, Alex.
I thought it was going to be Ladies' Night.
Yeah, it's going to be It's going to be Glenn Greenwald fucks his kids, all black people look alike, and Ladies' Night.
And ladies getting free to the Glenn Greenwald fucking his kids special bonanza.
Wow. Well, listen.
English, Portuguese subtitles available.
I'm going to apologize maybe
Harry
2 or 3
Holes
times
9.
now. So Alice Sebold made $8 million. I looked it up.
Yeah.
Her net worth is $8 million.
But that was mostly from The Lovely Bones, which was
it was from The Lovely Bones.
The Lovely Bones, which is how you have to say that.
That's like a Tim Burton-ass thing, right?
It's another story about a girl who is raped and murdered, and then she has to watch her family grieve from heaven, and Peter Jackson made a movie about it.
Yeah,
I haven't seen it.
It came out when when we were in high school, right? I remember a lot of people, or like high school or like early college, that was like the book that people who bought books from like Barnes and Nobles.
Yeah, it has that very pop literature where something disturbing happens, like The Kite Runner. Remember The Kite Runner?
I forgot about The Kite Runner.
The Kite Runner, yeah. Everyone loves that fucking book. Or in that same realm of pop literature, like Life of Pi, those books that become inexplicably big for some reason. I like that you're just
listing books that basically, like, the Canadian government force-fed to us in schools. Like,
but it's worked on an international level.
Yeah, we were forced to read Life of Pi, and I could not understand why.
It was shocking. I was a opinionated and pedantic, annoying teenager. And I remember it was like one of the assigned books in 10th grade English class. And I was like, the prose is terrible. This is below me in my public school education.
I wish I was reading The Lovely Bones instead. Yeah, the problem and the thing with Life of Pi is that Yann Martel misidentified the tiger, and the tiger spent 60. No, that's not funny. That's not funny. It was terrible what happened to this man.
I don't know what you're talking about,
but the wrongful. So like, I guess the question becomes like, because everyone's trying to make their angle on this, right? I mean, I have actually only been recently, like literally 48 hours ago, Alex told me about this story, but from my perusals, like, I guess the question is like, what narrative is going to succeed? You know, she's like, he's a victim of the system and I totally support him and blah, 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 blah. Is the narrative going to be, you know, this white devil lady put this guy in jail? Like, I just think that the dust has not settled on where the story is.
Yeah, it's Emmett Till all grown up. There you go.
Oh, no. Oh, no.
That's what it is.
There you go.
Yeah, it is. No, you hit the nail on the head on that one.
But in Emmett Till, the lady wasn't even, nothing bad happened to the lady. That's the thing, is something bad still happened to Alice Sebold, which is why it's like, it's so uncomfortable. Because it's like, I could see, after something terrible happened to you and you're in shock, and the police are like, and the DA are sort of coaching you in order to get a conviction, and you're in a state of high suggestibility. I get
how you could
making that
open
mistake.
the oven
I get how
doors.
you could do that.
Yeah, I get if the police are saying,
I totally understand.
Identify all your Jewish neighbors. I get how you could do that.
You know,
but okay, maybe to be a little bit more fair, though, or at least more generous, is that, you know, because oftentimes there's a narrative that kind of goes in reverse, right? Where a lot of times, say, you know, women whose accusers do not get convicted, oftentimes the way that their testimony is disqualified is that they say they don't necessarily have perfect transcriptions of their memory from the last time they said something to another, right? Mm-hmm. Which is also just how memory works, right? Like we don't have hard drives in our brains. Actually, the more you tell a story, the more you're changing it, the longer away from it. Also, you involve trauma into that. Mm-hmm. And so the idea that you would have photo recall of the worst thing that ever happened to you, even though I think in a television discourse, or, you know, the mediatized discourse, it becomes something like, yeah, of course you would remember in super realistic detail the worst thing that ever happened to you, because it was the worst thing, and they did it with the scary lighting and the music that plays under it. But that's not how life works. So on one level, you know, we're kind of saying the same thing in reverse, right? Like that is often how people get off, but it's in this instance how he got on. And I don't know. Also,
in her situation, her entire career was based off of remembering that moment in stark detail, which is, you know, the added level of sort of what puts it into the despicable realm, even though something bad happened to her.
They're not distributing that book anymore.
No, they are not.
It's in the pile with those weird Dr. Seuss books.
You don't like the 5 Chinese brothers?
We've been reading some Dr. Seuss, and they are tongue twisters. We got the Dr. Seuss sleep book. It's good. It's long.
That's their pedagogical value, man. Especially for like, actually, my boyfriend's going to listen to this, and he's a speech language pathologist. But doing a lot of different sound stuff is good for kids.
Yeah, good for their brains. Make their brains go working hard.
They should just put me in front of a baby and have me make noises. I would be like, "How you do?"
I want a kid that likes ammo. You know,
ammo, like
yeah.
You play a bunch of gun sounds for them? Ammo munition?
I'm just trying to do a segue.
Are you segueing into the school shooting?
Just trying to...
Are you talking about the Crumblies?
That
baby would have benefited from...
Is a Michigander supporting gun rights right now?
We have... I'm a Texan.
You're a Michigander. Hear that, Steven?
You're a Texas Michigander, okay? Right. That's a Michigas, if you ask me.
It's a straight shot on my Harley. I just drive up and down the country, just staying in the Great Plains.
Just down the middle of the country.
I'm a very straight man, Jay. I only drive in straight lines on a straight motorcycle. So there's a horrible school shooting because all of the victims were hot.
Oh, no!
It's
like they killed Dawson's Creek.
Dude, it was a very Degrassi school shooting.
It was a very Degrassi school shooting.
I'm sorry I don't mean to
we're making light of this situation. 4 children died, which is why we can make light of it.
4 good-looking kids died.
4 good-looking kids died.
Very hot.
Wasn't the chess club.
Yeah, it was probably done by the chess club.
No! Oh, no.
But the interesting thing, like, I don't want to talk about the kid's name or anything, because you don't want to glorify the little pissant idiot asshole. His parents, however, we can talk about because they have done such a horrible job at parenting that they have been arrested for this school shooting, which is maybe one of the first times that's ever happened.
I can remember people getting arrested for bad parenting in the cases of like there were those parents in Calgary that didn't vaccinate their kids and only gave them like arrowroot and ginseng, and then the kid dies, and then they get charged with. Or like,
well, it wasn't just vaccinated. That I remember that case. They didn't. The kid had a treatable illness that they did not take him to the doctor for months.
Yeah. Right, which is, I guess. But again, it seems strange. Like that's clear negligence, right? Like we can understand. Like if you find a kid, if you're not feeding your kid and your kid dies of hunger, that's obviously the most basic example. But I'm like, yeah, that is. I don't think there's a lot of people who are like, yes, that is not a crime. But I was like, raising a psychotic asshole is a different, I think, breed of accusation.
It's very interesting because, like, apparently when he got in trouble for talking about ammo at school or, saying he wanted to kill people at school, his mom texted him LOL, which, I gotta say, I might do the same thing.
Yeah.
But I think... if I also knew my husband had bought him a gun 4 days earlier, maybe I would be like, not saying LOL.
Yeah. And the liberal media jackals are getting into this because the parents are MAGA parents. So people are, making jokes.
I guess just part of me, like growing up in the kind of Columbine generation, is that I was like, do I think, is this looking for an explanation that doesn't exist? Right? Like, is it easier to say, oh, yeah, these were shitty parents, so this kid did a shitty thing? Which I am inclined towards. But then it also it's like, I'm also pretty, like, I'm of the mind that there's not a whole lot parents can do at, like, once you're 16. You're pretty much your own person.
Was this kid 16? How old
he was 15. I think it's overshadowing the fact that he was being bullied. I mean, and it's sad because I think this kid was being bullied, and I think his dumb parents were trying to cheer him up. And
by getting him a gun?
By getting him a gun.
Well, that's because thousands of parents do that every year. Did you see
that photo that the Congressman Thomas Massey posted, his Christmas card photo?
Yeah.
No. It's his entire family holding what looks to be like automatic rifles.
Oh, yeah. And all the kids look closeted.
Right. Were you masturbating to that photo?
Was masturbating to that photo. I like kids with guns.
Yeah, me too, man.
I like gay
me
kids
too.
with guns.
But yeah, so that he probably got those guns as gifts for his kids. That's what they do. And I think this kid was being
masturbates to. Sorry,
this kid was being bullied, and it was like a Degrassi situation where
it was a total Degrassi situation.
It's just you got a Degrassi situation on your hands, or maybe he's listening to Marilyn Manson, a guy we still haven't stopped.
Probably listening to Marilyn Manson. That guy has got a body count on him. Well, actually,
yes, really does.
He's done terrible things.
He tied up Rose McGowan and left her in a room for like 18 hours or something.
Yeah, I know. But the thing is I think he's done more. The Marilyn Manson trail of bodies are mostly they got more X chromosomes. Let's put it that way. But yeah, I mean, the silver lining is we'll probably get another sad boy hip hop artist like Drake.
He killed his Drake. His Drake died in the hospital. It's a tragedy.
And I saw that kid. That kid was very handsome.
Yes,
dude, it's a real tragedy.
He was the next Drake, and he died. This time he didn't make it.
He was going to be the white Drake.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. Part of me is like, okay, if it's one like, okay, you buy a kid a gun. I don't know the legality of the gun laws of like, I don't know, can you have a starter gun and take classes when you're 15? I don't know if that would be the negligence part, but I don't, let's be honest. Most people who have shitty parents don't go kill their classmates.
Yeah.
Most people who grow up, say, in abusive or conservative or negative households, like if they were like weird Nexium people or they were like Klan people, okay, maybe. But it's like, and again, I don't think they're good people. I don't even think they should maybe live without consequence. I just find it I find it strange that everyone's so willing to be on board, including, the state and the judiciary.
Yeah.
See, if your kid is declared a weirdo, it's like having a dog. So it's like if your dog mauls somebody, you're responsible for it. You gotta pay the damages.
Well,
and if your kid is like a dog kid,
I'm worried it's going to turn into an issue where the parents are MAGA, they're Republicans, they're bad, they're the ones who did it, basically. And then the Republicans are going to be like, no, the parents are good. This kid's a Kyle Rittenhouse.
Yeah.
And then
I don't know if they can spin it like that.
And then that will just make me very, very pissed off. And I'll be sending my kid to private school where this kind of thing doesn't happen as much.
He killed a Friday Night Lights. They're not gonna. Republicans don't like that. They don't want to be associated with that image.
Yeah.
No, the twist would be because I think Steven's onto something, right? Like if you go back to the tropes from our era, like I'm fruity little gay boy, fat, like I got bullied, I got bothered. And, my family was like, we're going to teach you how to fight. You're going to take Taekwondo and you're going to learn how to box and you're going to do these things. And like, granted, those were good things to have. But I think rather than being like, oh, yeah, he's a Kyle Rittenhouse, it's like, no, these parents did the right thing. This kid was fucked from his experience and they were teaching him how to defend himself. And all those other fucked up things at that liberal school where he was bullied for being a good conservative is what made him snap, not his parents teaching him responsible gun use.
You're talking about the Republicans doing hardcore anti-bullying campaign. The most incredibly violent anti-bullying campaign imaginable.
Yeah, it's like the solution to bullying.
The Democrats are the real bullies. When you're bullying the fetus when you try to abort it. Stop bullying the fetus. Anti-bullying.
Well, I hope that doesn't happen. In the news, you may not have heard, but like the next couple of days, pretty much every single school in this area was closed because of copycat threats. And also in this area, the schools are closing about every month for a couple days to a week because of staff shortages. So it seems like the whole school system in this area is kind of breaking down. Especially, a lot of blame has to lie on the school as well, because they didn't look in his backpack, and then they sent him back to class after he was like, I'm going to make it rain fire. Like, okay, see you in class.
He was also saying a lot of very, I know you can't predict these things, but he was saying, like, all of the very typical things you would script if you were writing Elephant. If I were to rewrite Gus Van Sant's wonderful school shooting film Elephant, his wistful, wonderfully put together magical school shooting film Elephant.
You just like it because they're gay.
It's also a really hard movie to watch. I feel like Alex is not selling this well.
Oh,
it's an excellent film,
it.
But it's not
a good movie.
Whimsical.
It's beautiful and mellifluous. They had dance numbers. It's a school shooting. It's a school shooting parade. Okay,
I feel like
Lin-Manuel Miranda version.
I had this observation. Why are there so many gay serial killers, but there are like zero gay school shooters? There's zero gay mass shooters. What is this?
Well, what is this phenomenon? Something along the line where it's like, what would if? And again, we don't know all the details, but I think Steven's bullying point is something at least to work off of, because we know LGBT people are by far the most likely to experience violent hate crimes. And frankly, has a lot more to do with the T than the L, the G, or the B. And so, like, if some young gay kid in a small town who was getting his ass beat, or a trans kid, like, did this, what would be, if it was, because it does seem to be people, again, maybe it is because they have access to guns in a way that maybe liberal families wouldn't, or what it's just, what would it take for that to be what we actually talk about? And the Congress is also, to give the schools are, I agree there's culpability there, but I used to be a high school teacher, and I only had one incidence of a student being trying to physically assault me. And the student they were writing a test and they were frustrated. And the student clearly had some stuff going on with their ability to pay attention. And they also had English was not their first language. And fully, like, I was sitting there, reading my book. I'm just supervising the test, picked up the desk and threw it at me across the room.
Mm.
And, there was police had to be involved or whatever. But it's kind of like, there is the level of culpability of like, okay, what, schools are raising kids, but we always put it on the parents. But then, how do I feel as an educator calling the police on a student that I know is suffering and like reacting that way? Like it's very difficult, especially for people getting underpaid, understaffed, dealing with classrooms of 30, 40, 50 kids.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So are you saying we can't blame the schools? Because I want to blame somebody.
Hey,
well,
that's,
I think the issue is there's a lot of blame to go around, but I think it's part of a huge issue with our culture is that we're like that. Yes, this person is guilty. This person is innocent. There is an answer to the problem, to the equation. 1 + 1 = 2.
They say it takes a village.
Well, I mean, the bullies that do the bullying graduate high school, and then they become the school administrators and the police and the journalists and all the people with the big jobs because bullies get what they want.
There you go. Be
it's
bullies.
kind of institutionalized. Cool. Like I went to a school where bullying was basically institutionalized, and I have PTSD from that, just a smidge. I got a whole mix. I'm a melting pot of PTSD. But the institutionalized bullying, I've observed it, and like that's kind of why I can, not dismiss other things that are systematic and wrong, because I've sort of, I have firsthand experience with something being at that level.
That's what they was talking about in The Wall, in We Don't Need No Education.
Yeah,
I mean, another brick in the wall part
to be
two.
honest, I thought about school shootings every day in school because I wanted to do one back then. Yeah. I'm 32. You don't have to come arrest me now. But I was extremely unhappy in school. There was so much bullying, and I was doing some bullying because you had to, because the culture was you have to either bully or you will be bullied, and we would bully people until they left the school. And anyone who was gay would be bullied until they left the school, basically.
Well, it's prison mentality, right? It's like you walk in and you go and punch the biggest guy in the room so that people don't think you're a pussy.
Yes.
In high school, I ended up having to be exempted from all physical education classes because every time I went into a change room, and I was very fruity, very gay, and it was very much like if I went and changed to go to gym, I was putting my life on the line every time, and everybody let me know that. And the school solution was, okay, give us names, name names. And thankfully, I had some parents with, a couple of, good ideas in their head. And they were like, oh, if he names names now, he's got 4 more years of high school here. He will die. What we need to do is get this kid into fucking, transfer him into a business class or whatever. But mandatory phys ed, it's part of a lot of public school educations. I never did that because it was, and I can't say I didn't have violent fantasies about the people who, made my life miserable. And I think, the question, the point, I think that Stephen's trying to bring up is, is like, when does that, it's hard to understand why someone could snap. It sounds like Joker logic, but being a kid is tough.
You have access to, I think if I had been just given a gun, I probably could have done some reckless shit if that was sort of normalized in my culture. And I think it's sort of like the other thing about Republican culture or right-wing culture, why it might come from there, is there's no frame of mind to deal with a sensitive kid. That's like the humor of King of the Hill. I mean, Hank Hill learns to deal with his sensitive boy, but like most people, their solution is that you got to man up and you got to learn to look after yourself, and the key is self-sufficiency. And just these people that they don't have that in them. And they see that as a moral failing. And because they can't accept their kid having that moral failing of lacking that self-sufficient attitude, they try to mold them into something that he's not, and it creates a tragedy. It's what do they call it? Toxic masculinity? Yeah. It's a problem of toxic masculinity. I say it like that, but it's actually true. It's sad that that phrase has been parodied to death and is used in bad faith, because it's really true. You know, you have this image that men failing to live up to the image that they've set for themselves is responsible for a huge amount of fucking mayhem in this world. That's just, and that image that you set for yourself is, you know, sometimes comes from within, but is mostly set by the parameters of where you live.
Yeah, I agree. I think those are good words to take us out, because we're a little bit over our allotted time. So I want to thank Jay for coming on this week. We really appreciate it.
Oh, it's a pleasure, guys. I mean, there's so much for the best laid plans of having a goofy episode.